In your packet is a copy of the minutes from the March policy meeting. Can I have a motion to approve, or if there's any comments, you'd provide those at this time?
So move.
Support.
Did you get those? You're on mute.
I'm sorry, who did the first motion?
Very nice.
And who did the second?
Bauman did.
Howard Ballman.
Howard, okay.
No, it wasn't me.
Oh. Did someone
The
say?
other Bauman.
Ah,
The other
No.
Bauman.
thank you.
Okay, sorry.
All right, is there anyone from the public who would like to provide any comments? All righty. We'll move on to number 3 in the agenda, environmental program. Kelly?
And I will share my screen so that Kelly can do her presentation.
Okay, and hopefully those of you that are on the phone, the presentation is posted on the website, so you can follow along. And I'm going to apologize for cat noises in the background. All right, so I'm going to just run through our 4 current grants right now, just some quick updates, and then if anybody has questions, either myself or Rob can handle those. So first, the Great Lakes sediment and phosphorus reduction. So this is our kind of larger grant, started this past October. We've got funding to do grass waterways and cover crops. So Rob has been meeting with farmers. The weather has certainly been challenging to get some of those grass waterways started. We had planned to do some last fall, but just the wetness did not allow for that. So it's been a little bit slow going on this, but again, Rob is having conversations and making some progress with farmers. I'm going to go to the next slide. So then on the 2-stage channel grant, this is a small grant from the Great Lakes Commission that we've been working on for a couple years. And so we did finally receive a permit from Eagle to construct the cattle crossing that is part of one of the projects. We've got a 2-stage channel plus a cattle crossing. The grant is paying for the 2-stage channel, and then Project Clarity is paying for the cattle crossing, but we're doing them together because it just makes sense to construct them. So we had to wait to get that permit. So we did finally get that, and then now with all of the restrictions with COVID-19, trying to figure out how we're going to bid that project. So we've been kind of holding off. We do have a consultant that's going to manage that for us, and kind of working on a plan for how we're going to move that forward. So we do still plan to move that forward and install this summer. And then we did identify a second project site on an Ottawa County right-of-way with Joe Bush's office. So there's in the picture, if you can see the screenshot there, it's a drain that goes between Meade Johnson and Reith Riley. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the drain, but it's a county drain, and so the county has a easement on that right of way, and it's a drain that's in need of some work, some added capacity. So that's what the 2-stage will do, plus stabilize the banks. So the Water Resource Commissioner's office is taking care of the survey and the design on this, and so they have had the survey completed. They hope to wrap up the design in May and then be able to bid the project in June and install it yet this summer. So hopefully we'll get those projects installed. We did request a time extension on this grant just in case we're not able to get everything done. It is scheduled to end in September. So we're still waiting to hear on that extension. Next slide. And then we also have a small grant from the Great Lakes Commission to do stream bank restoration. So we have one site, it's pictured there on Nautilus Creek. We did have to make some design modifications on this one and resubmit the permit application just this spring. So we're still waiting to get the permit to do this project. And because the design was modified, that's increased the cost. So we're working on seeking some additional funding. We've got some options and just nothing for sure yet. So it's a little bit delayed because of the permit application, and then we'll have to see again with COVID, with bidding and all of that. We'll see what happens with this one, but we are moving forward with it. And we have, again, requested a time extension on this in case we can't get it in by September. And the last one, next slide. The Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, we just started a new project on April 1st. We're just for simplicity calling it the Stormwater Grant. So we do have funding in this grant to support curb cut rain gardens in the city of Holland that are going in conjunction with road reconstruction projects. So we did have 4 installed on 19th Street last year that will be able to help offset the cost of the plants that will go in, hopefully, in about a month. And then we've got 6 additional gardens that are planned for the projects this year on 20th and 21st, which again are delayed because of COVID-19, but we are moving forward with planning those. And then we've got some partners involved in this, so we're working on getting all that paperwork in place with the ODC network, the City of Holland, and Holland BPW. One of the major components of this project is to do some green infrastructure installations in the City of Holland at City Hall and Collin Park. So we did publish and then modify a request for proposals to hire a design team. So that is open currently. It's posted on our website. If you just go to the homepage, it's in that kind of scrolly thing on the homepage. So we did receive quite a bit of interest in that already. We had received questions from 5 or 6 engineering firms. So then we look forward to receiving some proposals in the next month and then move those projects forward. And then the last component of this is a volunteer rainscaping program. So we're modeling a program after a rainscaping program that's being done in the Lower Grand River Organization of Watersheds. So Rob and Mara had a chance to go and learn about that program. We have the materials. I've been waiting to get the partner MOUs in place, and then we're going to kind of get together with a team and figure out how we're going to implement this program in the Macatawa watershed, especially given social distancing requirements. So I guess overall, we are making progress on things. Some activities are a little more difficult than others because of the current restrictions that we're working under, but we're doing what we can. So it's a lot of information in a quick amount of time, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has about any 4 of those projects.
Thank you, Kelly. Anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward to the on the agenda. Carolyn, discuss transportation programs, please.
Yeah, so to start off, the TIP amendment, it's pretty straightforward. There are 2 amendments listed, but it's really one project. The 2 listed, the one project is 76th Avenue. It's a rail safety job. The first part of it is for a CSX to install flashing light signals and half gates. And this is in Xenia Charter Township where 76th Avenue is. And the second portion is for Ottawa County Road Commission to raise and grade the north roadway approach. So pretty straightforward. It's a new project on the tip for safety. And yeah, it's those 2, which really equals that one project. So yeah, that's it. Any questions with that tip amendment?
All right. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion to approve the amendment to the tip?
I'd make that motion.
you get that, Judy? Jerry?
Ms. Jerry Hunsberger.
Jerry,
Yes.
okay?
Howell
And-
supports.
Linda?
And then Linda. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
Great.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay.
Unified work plan.
All right. And then if you can all see my screen, the
Yep.
second piece is for the Unified Work Program. And for those of you that have been with us a number of years, around this time of year, we always bring to you what we are expecting for our Unified Work Program. And our Unified Work Program is essentially what we are planning on working on in the Transportation Department over the next year. So the MPO tasks. If you've been around, you'll kind of know that this doesn't change very often. Most of the items stay the same, just because a lot of the tasks that we work on year to year continue to rotate over and over again. So things like PASER, we do that every summer. We also, manage our cleaner action and green commute programs every year. A lot of that stuff will stay the same. So back probably just a week before everything got shut down, we had a meeting in Lansing with MDOT and FHWA and all of our partners. At that meeting, we were able to discuss our progress on the current FY20 UWP, how we were doing with our workload and different tasks. And then we also had an opportunity to talk about what we will be working on in fiscal year 21. So the draft that you were able to receive either through your email or it is also posted on our website is the draft for FY21, which will start in October. From here, I just saw a chat come up. I just want to make sure. Yes, Punkage, I believe we did just, there was a ask from Punkage about the TIP amendment. We did vote on that. Going back to the UWP, a couple of the things to note, there's 4 different sections. So on the screen that you should be able to see, I highlighted those in 4 different colors. Those are the colors that we categorize each of the chapters by. So the first section is administration. So that's anything that we do that's more administration based. It's not a specific program. We also have short range planning, and then special projects and studies, something really specific and different. And then we have long range planning in the green section. Again, not too many changes this year. Some sections were reworded or combined. We had one section about non-motorized safety and education around that. It made sense to move it into one of the long-range planning items that also talks about non-motorized planning. Also wanted to note that M231, there was a section on that. It was originally in the special programs. Instead, we added a little bit more content to it, talked a little bit more about the history about M231 and how that project may be moving forward in the future, and added that to the long-range planning section. So that is now item 4.6. So we wanted to move that just because it made more sense in the flow of things, and that's a really long-term project. So it's things that might happen earlier, but overall it's a longer project. So it made sense to put it in that section. So if you want to read up on that, that's item 4.6. Really the 2 things that we're removing are the 2020 census, since that will be wrapped up by next fiscal year. And then also the transit access and connectivity study. Mara and I will be working on that. We're just getting started, but that should only last us a few months, and we should be all set with that by the time October comes around. So these are just the updates on the UWP, the Unified Work Program. And at next meeting, the June 8th, our combined May and June meeting, that's when we'll bring you the final draft of the Unified Work Program for an actual vote. So this is just for you to review it. And if you do have any comments or questions, please feel free to email me.
Thank you, Carolyn. All right, next on the agenda, MDOT. MDOT, do you have any comments? Tyler?
Sorry, I'm struggling to find my unmute button here. Yeah, I got a few comments I can provide. Let me see where my notes are on here. I'm sorry when I'm not technologically savvy. Just want to talk about a few things. I know a lot of us are aware of the current situation and some impacts on the state budget that may occur, or probably not may, but will occur. Just some things that we know right now, just to be clear, the stay-at-home order has been extended into May. Sounds like it might be a phased reopening after that. Again, that's subject to change. Since mid-March, traffic volumes on major roadways in the state have been down significantly. As a result of the stay-at-home order, some estimates say that the statewide average is down by more than 50%. We do not know the impact on transportation revenue, but it is guaranteed there will be some sort of impact. And then you might have also heard last week, the state of Michigan, including MDOT, temporarily laid off a little under 3,000 employees for 2 weeks, and MDOT is included in that. Not everybody is laid off, but a few of us are. Last week, and then also in addition, the state budget office through the Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference, which is the third week of May, is going to look at that, the funding situation. That's written in law and state law when they determine the state's revenue availability. And that's supposed to take place in May sometime. So we'll have a little more information then, hopefully. The only silver lining out of this may be that a lot of our ongoing projects, there's an opportunity to do a little more intensive construction because we don't have as much traffic on the road. So we can do a little bit more maintenance of traffic options there. But in addition to that, if a contractor does not feel that they can reasonably accommodate their workers in compliance with the governor's executive order, they are able to stop construction. Of course, they consult with MDOT on that, but there is they do have the ability to do that if they need to. And then in addition, I don't know when things will get back to normal, but just some things to keep in mind. And then one thing we talked about at the MACC technical meeting 2 weeks ago was traffic counts, the collection traffic counts in the area. One thing to keep in mind for your agencies is that, 2021 and 22 are going to have a lot of projects on the MDOT system in your area. And, assuming some things get back to normal later this year, I would strive for a fall traffic count collection just because, your counts might be a little skewed later on in 2021 and 2022 as a result of those construction projects. That's all I have.
This is Hannes. I have a question about comprehensive transportation bond situation.
Okay.
As you all may know, in 1980, this was the route that then Governor John Engler took instead of increasing the gas tax. And so, again, in September of 1980, the state of Michigan issued so-called transportation inventory bonds, or inventory transportation bonds. I am interested, coincidentally, in the status of that project because those 1980 bonds contain my signature. At the time, I was chairman of the Michigan Transportation Commission and had to sign all those bonds. Fortunately, then and now they have a so-called check writing machine. And every time I would sign, why, there would be 15 other bonds that were simultaneously signed. I tried to find out from the governor's office the status of those refunding transportation bonds, and as you may surmise, why I was unable to get through. I'm making this much too long, but I was wondering what the status of that project is. The governor has understandably, and I think rightly so, opted to address so-called roads and bridges and transportation infrastructure by the issuance of those bonds. Now, a long statement, but a short question. What is the status of that if the MDOT representative knows?
Honest, this is Tyler. I think I wrote down that I was supposed to look into that last week, or from our last meeting. It just kind of fell off the wayside to our current situation. I can look into those in more detail for you on those bonds. You said from 1980s?
Yes.
Okay, I could look into
September of 1980.
Okay. One thing I can tell you in general about bonds for transportation in this state is we are capped for having a $300 million bond repayment. So we get our allotment of money, 300 million at max is cut out for bond repayment every year. So the idea with the Rebuilding Michigan program is, since some of the previous bonds are essentially being paid off and, we're not reaching our max repayment, we can fill that, we can still take out more bonds and basically fill in that repayment gap, essentially, if that makes sense. So as the old bonds are expiring, as they're getting paid off, we're getting new bonds in that place. So I think it was just kind of a moment of opportunity where the old bonds were expiring, you could take on new bonds. So my assumption is that those bonds from 1980 are probably paid off, but I will double check for you on that.
Great time to pay. This would be a great time to refund those bonds.
Yes.
And I don't say that because my signature's on there.
I'll look for the
hopefully I don't have any personal responsibility.
Yes, I will look.
Thank you, Hannes. Anyone else have any questions for Tyler? All right. Thank you. Aaron, Federal Highway, any comments?
Nothing at this time. We've just been operating business as usual.
Okay. Well, thank you. All righty. All right. That concludes the transportation programming section of our agenda. We'll now discuss administrative issues. In your packet that was sent to you last week is a copy of the financial report for the last month. Staff has been working from home, so the cost of travel and lunches and stuff for our meetings, you will not see those included in here because there are no costs to that. But everything else looks good. Does anyone have any questions? Alrighty. Next on the agenda is the proposed 2021 federal year budget. That is included in this packet of information. I'll go through that presentation now, so if you want to bring that up, Carolyn. All right, if you can go to the second page, please. Thank you. All right, in front of you is a proposal that staff, accountant Chris Brown and I have been working on over the last month or so, putting this together. What you'll see in this year's budget is an increase in the government, both general transportation as well as watershed. If you recall, in the 2020 budget, there was a decrease of roughly $220,000, and that was majority of that was through pass-throughs of grants that the MACC received and projects that were completed. So there is again an increase in both the general transportation as well as watershed. For watershed, it's roughly a little over $181,000 for those projects that Kelly had discussed for the upcoming year here. Both jurisdictional dues will remain the same as in last year, as well as the watershed stormwater dues, including the increase that was incorporated into last year's budget. I recall that Tom Bird had a question whether or not that was a rollover from year to year, And I did some research, talked to Mr. Berkman as well, looked at the minutes, as well as the presentation. And that was, the plan was for that to be rolled over. Now that is a voluntary contribution to those funds from each government entity. But as Nancy DeBoer had mentioned at the approval of the rates last year, you know, that rising tides lifts all boats. This is something that we have to work on together, all governmental entities. Water knows no boundaries, and it's a regional issue that we're all working to address. Also, under other, the $51,302 there, that's the community enhancement program, as well as some funds, donations and stuff to the MACC. The total budget for this year is just over $1 million. You go to the next page, please, Carolyn. Thank you. Under expenses, you'll see, as I mentioned earlier, transportation, that's you know, funding of staff and projects. Watershed, again, is those pass-through grants, as well as administration of those projects. You know, the increase in the dues is Mr. Berkman had mentioned in the past, is roughly $230,000 to incorporate and manage those grants, and that the capture of the amount of funding that we receive doesn't cover all those costs, doesn't bear the covering of all those costs. So that's something that I'm going to need to work with the executive committee on, discussing how we need to address that, as well as then bringing that back to the policy board in the near future. Maybe a portion of that, you know, we discussed the strategic plan. This might be a good opportunity through that strategic plan just to work to address that. So the total cost of the expenses for this year, for the 2021 budget, excuse me, is roughly $952,084. You can turn to the next page, please. So again, the expenses from 2020 to the proposed 2021 budget, we have an excess of roughly $74,708. Now again, with the whole issue of COVID and such, you know, those are things that, you know, in October we're going to need to take a look at, and when these final numbers are starting to come in, to see if there's a need to cut, or if there's items within the budget that we may need to address specifically. Transportation subs, I think you know, these video conferences and such are good ways to be able to communicate. It's not as effective as meeting one-on-one or within work groups, but I think that there are items and ways to address if there are some shortfalls in the budget that we can take a look at with the fallout of COVID-19. So the next steps, if you could turn to the final, looking to adopt the requested budget on June 8th. This year, we don't have a May meeting. If anyone has any questions or comments, both for myself or staff, please let me know. We can schedule a time to sit down and chat via Zoom or by telephone. If there's any questions, I'd take those now, please. Any questions?
Hey, Tyler Bunkage here.
Yeah.
I can't recall if the census plays any roles in the jurisdictional dues eventually. Is that something that would affect that once the numbers are out?
Yeah, that's probably a year out. Is that correct, Carolyn? Will we see those numbers possibly? Is it next year? some
Okay,
late next year?
okay.
Yeah, it is a delay a little bit. I think maybe MDOT staff might know when that comes out, but I think it takes sometimes almost 9 months, a year to fully get the next, approved
Okay.
numbers.
It comes out in phases. This is Tyler Kent from MDOT. You'll get some of the higher level geographic data and like just general population and households, but the more fine tooth information isn't until later. From what I'm aware, of course, that assumes things are normal in the world, but that I would say 9 months to a year and a half is probably pretty reasonable.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you.
Tyler, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I think you did a nice job with the budget. Obviously, it's not a crisis mode. I mean, we're not in a crisis mode. We have a nice fund balance, but it's just unfortunate we have not been able to work on that MACC and ODC watershed issue. But it's just been hard since you got here. But you're right. That is certainly something that we have to work through, hopefully in the next, hopefully this year. So.
Yeah, we'll make sure to move that ball forward.
Just to comment on the budget, I notice, and I've noticed this in prior years, that we're apparently got a balance over in our legal fees. So it's nice to know that we're apparently staying very legal.
Thank you, Hannes. Anyone else?
Well, I hope just one more comment. I've spoken too much, I guess, but well, fortunately for you, I forgot what it was. So. Everybody have a good day. Oh, I know what it was. Is there such a word as unneeded? I'm going to go to the dictionary after our meeting.
What was the comment?
Tyler, this is Jim Brooks. I do have a public comment at the end of the meeting.
Good. Any other comments from the board? All righty, let's move on to the next item. Member comments. Anyone have anything to report for today's meeting? No? Jim, you had a comment to discuss?
Yeah, I guess that first, as the chair of the Holland Zealand Model Community Initiatives, I wanted to welcome you to the Holland community. We haven't had a chance to meet personally, and it's good to see you by Zoom anyway.
Well, thank you.
I want to let you know, so we were planning a 10-year update to our community strategic planning that involves 80+ government, business, and nonprofit leaders from different community systems, and we were planning to do that in late May. Because of the virus and because there are so many organizations and community leaders that are still in crisis mode, and after that's over, we'll probably be very absorbed with trying to get their organizations back to whatever new normal is. We decided two things. One, we are trying to plan that meeting, but with a virtual future search using similar technologies of this, Zoom and Bluescape and others. And that's going forward. There's a good chance that that's how we will conduct that meeting. But that meeting is being deferred for several months anyway, until most of the organizations and the participants have a chance to get closer to new normal, where they can wrap their minds around longer term strategic things. But we very much look forward to your and other representatives of MACC participating in that initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and I appreciate you sharing that information that was dropped off from the house. I reviewed that, and I'll give you a phone call shortly so we can discuss that information. So thank you very much. Look forward to working with you. All right, the next meeting will take place June 8th at proposed at Olive Township. We'll let you know between now and then if we will convene the meeting either at that location or Zoom. I appreciate your input today, and being able to attend the meeting, and look forward to reaching out to you and speaking with you and working on our partnership. So thank you very much. Have a good day.
Did we vote on the amendment?
So yeah, the two amendments.
Yeah, see, I didn't hear a vote on it.
Yeah, it should have been, I believe, Jerry Hunsberger and then Linda Howell. So yeah.
I heard it first and a second, but I didn't hear a vote on it.
Oh, the vote. I got you. Yes, I think maybe you're correct.
Yeah, you are correct.
did that at the end. Yes.
So should we take a vote now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? All right, thank you. Can I
Need
get
a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I make that motion.
And second?
This is David. I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Be safe.